here on our Trojan Talk podcast here. Great to have you in. We're at the Field House at Troy. I'm Barry McKnight, and I'm with Lynne George. Lynne, of course, I've been, it's been about a year, the Director of Economic Development and the Idea Bank, a little bit more than a year, Lynne?
A little more than a year.
Right.
Almost. It'll be 2 years in April.
Mm-hmm.
But we've gone through some changes. So when I first started, I was in the Division of Economic Development.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm strictly School of Business. But, you know, my role has been predominantly the same.
Well, a lot of people associate you in town, coming in and out on the square of the Idea Bank, the old Regions building at the corner of Three Notch, right there on that edge of the square. Mm-hmm. The Idea Bank has been around for a good little bit, but I wanted to talk with you about Troy University's comprehensive approach towards name, image, and likeness opportunities.
Yes.
That's been about a year, right, since that has been mapped out. Am I correct?
Yes, a little less. So
Okay.
I started partnering with the athletics department right when this school year was starting. So I guess fall of 2022.
Okay.
So right before the school year and football season was getting started, the Brent Jones approached me and said, we need to partner because really name, image, and likeness is kind of a business building entrepreneurship opportunity for student athletes. I have a career background in the sport industry, so it just was a very natural partnership. So since then, we've done a lot of work and a lot of research, and there's still a lot to come.
The word around is you really took this and hit the ground running with the Idea Banks, and it's Idea Bank is kind of a euphemism. It's IDEA Bank,
Yes.
But it is an Idea Bank. First of all, before we get into the specifics of Troy University, people have seen it. It's very visible. It's right there on that corner. And a lot of people haven't had the courage to go in and I want to walk in there and see what's going on. So what's in there? What's going on?
A great question. I do get that question a lot. So Idea Bank, it does stand for Innovation Design Entrepreneurship Accelerator.
Okay.
But also the word idea means something there. So we're a student entrepreneurship center, but a big part of that is involving the community for the sake of getting students connected to the community and getting to know the people that can support them when they're trying to start their business. So we do a lot of mostly one-on-one consulting with students who want to start businesses. That's our primary mission, to help them get the help that they need. 2, we do a lot of networking events and workshops.
I've seen a few of those. Those are very well received.
Yes. So we try to do networking events to get to. What we really want to do is just bridge that gap between the university and the community. So having the space downtown is such a key component of that. We can get the local businesses involved and we can get students involved, and hopefully they'll meet each other and find some partnerships naturally that way. And then the small businesses in the community also need support with their small business growth. So we share a building with a small business development center. Mm-hmm. So, we're really involved with the community with trying to put on workshops and educational seminars for them as well. So we just try to mesh the students and the community together for the sake of growing new businesses.
It is such a hot button topic, or a hot button series of letters. NIL has hit college athletics like a storm. I promise you there'll be another podcast later on about the nuts and bolts of NIL regulations, what can and can't happen, what schools are allowed to do, what they're not allowed. That's another podcast. That's another guest. Your role with name, image, and likeness is the true intent of the outreach to capitalize on name, image, and likeness for the student athlete at Troy University.
Right.
If I, Barry McKnight, sophomore quarterback, pretty much a hot shot, I've got a following.
Of course, yeah.
This is my podcast, so I get to take a flight of fancy. And I want to take advantage of my notoriety or of my brand as a recognizable student athlete at a high-level Division I institution. I'm going to come see Lynne George at the Idea Bank. You welcome me in. What happens next?
The first thing I do is we'll have a consultation meeting. It's usually about 30 minutes to sometimes an hour, depending on how talkative the student athlete is. And I do some different exercises for personal or kind of a self-discovery exercise of, you can't just walk in and say, I want to have an NIL deal and I want to have a brand partnership. You have to really narrow that down to what is your personal brand and what business brands would match well with that. So I have kind of a whole worksheet and series of questions where we'll sit down and I'll go through, what are your athletic accomplishments, but also what are your personal accomplishments, your academic accomplishments, and what do you want to be known for, beyond your athletic career? What are your interests? What are you passionate about? Is it your church? Is it, what are you involved in? And so we really try to get down into what is your personal brand and who is your audience? And from there, we can kind of target the types of partnerships that they would seek after. So that's always interesting. People really struggle with that. And I say people because it's anyone, not just student athletes, any student who wants to kind of build this is a whole new industry, becoming an influencer and a content creator. Right. There's a lot of people who want to do this. And it's kind of the same process of really figuring out what your brand is. So people don't know. I mean, I actually tried to do it for myself, and it was challenging to really pin down, who's my target audience, what is my theme, I guess, when you look at my social media and my online profile. If you Google, I'll tell a lot of student athletes, Google your name, see what comes up. Obviously, you'll get, your association with Troy Athletics and probably some stats and things like that. But does anything else come up? We do a social media audit. So I'll have them audit their social medias. I have kind of a little worksheet where it's how many followers you have, what does your bio say, what is your handle, at whatever. Is it your name? Is it something different? And we try to look for, is there anything that just doesn't really match what your personal brand is that we talked about?
Or could be better.
Yeah. Is there anything that maybe you don't want to be part of your reputation that maybe we should clean up? Is it consistent between all platforms? If you're on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, what do those different profiles look like? And if I am a local business or just someone looking for an athlete to represent my business, am I going to want this profile to be a representation of my brand?
Is there, involved in all of that, is there any, I don't want to say counseling, but is there anything that the Idea Bank offers to improve their presentation? I mean, to improve their personal presentation. If somebody presents a good image, has a positive social media profile, but they're not comfortable in public settings, or they don't know exactly, how to project themselves. There's that type of counseling as well.
We can definitely help. I mean, we do all the coaching, but the specific technical things, we can help with all of that. So I have a partnership with the Department of Art and Design as well.
Right.
And they are really great with supporting content creation. So if there's a student athlete that wants to create some graphics or get some new photography or build their own website, sometimes it's not even about just the social media influencer. Sometimes someone might actually have a brand, a clothing line or something like that, and they want to launch a website. We can get student graphic designers and students in the art and design department matched with a student athlete so that, and it works great because the student designers, they're trying to build their business also.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the student athletes who may not necessarily have that design creative skill get the help that they need. And so we sort of facilitate that partnership. And in some cases, the student designer will be compensated for their work, and that's part of the Idea Bank budget. So that way, we're helping those student designers build their business, but we're also offering a service to student athletes. And so it's a really kind of a full circle entrepreneurship support system.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about all of that's involved, and you're involved with that. Lynne, my next point probably would be better served if we weren't on camera with a football helmet sitting between us. But some of the best, at least most visible, collegiate NIL deals nationwide are with women's basketball players, are with gymnasts, which we don't offer here at Troy. But it's not just football, right?
Right. It's very interesting, and I try to preach that a lot because there are so many student athletes that think NIL is not for them because maybe they don't have a huge following, or maybe they're not the top athlete, and there are so many other people that would. So it's easy to fall into that mindset, but it's just so not true because it's really for anyone who is willing to put forth the work to build a brand. And all of these kind of Olympic sport athletes that get these big deals, they all have built their own brands, and they have an online presence, and they have an audience that resonates with them, and they put extra time. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's extra time and effort, which is super challenging when you're a student athlete because you're already so busy. But, it's like building a business. You stay consistent and stay committed to it, and just figure out what that personal brand is and stick to it. And it will be hard in the beginning. You got to start somewhere. But if you stay consistent, eventually you can build up that following and build up that brand awareness.
You sound like a coach. At the beginning it's difficult, but if you're consistent in your effort and in your work,
things will happen. It's so true, yes, like many things in life.
Yeah, no question about it. Lynne George is with us. There are a lot of buzzwords, a lot of words accented in Troy's outreach to get the word out about what Troy Athletics is committed to doing for the student athletes in terms of name, image, and likeness. I want to go over a couple of them with you. First of all, a broad question. There is an opportunity for an NIL certification for student athletes?
Yes.
What's that about?
Let me tell you about that. It's actually not out yet.
Okay. All right.
I know we talked about this, I think, right before football started, or right when football was beginning of the season. And I think we might have announced that a little too early, but which is fine. It's still happening. It'll probably be ready in the next... Definitely this semester, maybe in the next 2 months or so.
Okay.
We're very close.
What's it all about?
What it is it'll be a self-paced online course, basically, that takes you through the different components of how to get started with your NIL. So there will be a lot of the same exercises that I do with students when they meet with me at the Idea Bank. But there will also be a whole section about the financial component, like how to handle self-income taxes and, how to manage that part when you do start making money. There will also be a section about compliance and the rules that you need to follow. And then there will be 4 modules. So one will be the personal branding, which I've talked a little bit about. One will be the finance, the compliance, and then the 4th will be what partnerships do we at Troy have in place that you can start taking advantage of now. So it will be actual steps to how you can get started. Who do you contact to do this? We have a partnership with Brandar. We have a partnership with Open Doors. We have a partnership with Adidas. What are all these partnerships and which one's for me and how do I take advantage of them? So it's going to be all online. Student athletes it'll be in a Canvas shell. So it'll be really easy to access for any student. And they can just go through it. And once you complete it, you'll get a certificate, and then you will come to the Idea Bank, and you'll come to the Idea Bank, I'll give you a certificate, and we'll kind of have another consultation if we haven't had one already, just on your next steps for really getting started.
True or false? Since you mentioned this, there's a couple of things in there that have started to answer the other questions I was going to ask. Troy Athletics offers to its student athletes, there is a brand opportunity with Adidas, correct?
Yes.
Existing.
Yes, and that is a really great opportunity for people who, I want to start this influencer business, but I don't have enough followers to actually get a partnership. Adidas is offering student athletes at its partner schools an affiliate opportunity where you can basically be an Adidas brand ambassador. Doesn't matter how many followers you have, doesn't matter, all that matters is that you're an active student athlete at an Adidas partner school, which Troy is. So you just sign up, and they'll go through a process to verify that you are a current student athlete, and then you'll get an affiliate link. And what you'll do is post that link, promote Adidas products, and when someone buys an Adidas product through your affiliate link, you get commission.
Okay.
So it's so perfect. I really want to kind of push some more info about this, because it's if anyone is struggling with like where to start with your online brand and online partnerships and things like that, this is perfect. And you can just practice with it and, practice different pictures. We have a whole website with kind of examples of things you can post, best practices and things like that. But definitely sign up. There, TroyTrojans.com/Adidas has all of the info. So student athletes should definitely check that out. It takes no time to just sign up and get your affiliate link, and then from there you just run with it.
It strikes me, the Idea Bank is spends a lot of time as a catapult, as a catalyst for all of this, especially as a first step for student athletes at Troy. I wanted to ask you about a couple of other hot words that caught me in some of the literature and promotions that Troy Athletics does. You mentioned open doors. Is that the same kind? Is it basically an interface between the student athletes and business opportunities? Is that how that works?
Open doors is another one that I highly recommend student athletes. You can kind of build your profile on there where you can connect your different social media accounts. You can put a little bio. You can add images. And businesses or sponsors, individuals, whoever, can kind of go on and look at the different student athletes and make offers. So if I'm a business owner, I could say, Barry McKnight, I would love for him to do a social media post for my business. I'm going to message him and offer $50 for that. So it is and I want to raise some awareness with businesses actually for this, because I talk to a lot of people in the business community that are interested in NIL, but not really sure, how do I even talk to a student athlete about that, or where do I even start with that? I
wouldn't even know who, it's not necessarily all up to them to think, okay, who would the best student athlete be for me? I've got to figure that out before I even approach. This is a way where they can look for themselves. You can basically
browse through and see, what people's followings look like, what people's personal statements say, what's important to them, and kind of get that little personal brand snapshot. And then a student athlete can add services. So I could put on my profile, I'll post a social media shout out for you for $20, or I will come appear at one of your events for $100, or you can kind of set your prices.
Okay.
But then a business owner can make an offer. So it's kind of this great communication tool to start to get that partnership process started.
The other question, specifically about names, you mentioned Brandar.
Yes.
What is that?
Okay, so my husband Kyle probably will be able to better explain Brandar.
Okay.
But this is if you want to use Troy branding in any kind of gear, like if you're creating your own jerseys or clothing line or something like that you're going to sell, and you want to put the Troy marks on it, Brandar is that system to help you merge that those trademarks legally,
right.
I guess. I think that's the best way I can explain it.
That makes sense. And that's a good explanation. So, and I hadn't even thought about this angle when I was, researching and preparing to visit with you about it. What you do is not all student athlete centered. If there are business people watching and listening right now, they think, I've always wondered how I was going to do this. I never really knew how to take the first step. The first step's to get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So I am working on kind of some outreach pieces for businesses, but what we talked about in the beginning when I was talking a little bit about the Idea Bank mission of kind of bridging that gap between students and the community, that 100% applies here. Getting the student athletes connected to the appropriate, best suited businesses to monetize their NIL, and getting the businesses connected to a new opportunity to promote their business. It's a mutually beneficial opportunity for sure.
Which is the optimum way to do business.
Yeah, so we have this group of student athletes and this group of business owners, and they don't really have a clear way to talk to each other. Open Doors is perfect for that, but most people don't really know. I mean, most business owners don't really know what Open Doors is. So definitely, if there are business people listening that are interested in working with student athlete, or kind of exploring what that might look like for them, definitely reach out to us at the Idea Bank, and I can help with that.
It's so interesting. I've got into this, and I'm trying to think of all the different avenues for student athletes, and you point out, different avenues for potential business people, potential sponsors and stuff. And it strikes me, in closing here, Lynne, it strikes me that if, and I don't want to get too highfalutin, if indeed a university's goal for all of its students, not just student athletes, is to prepare them for the future, to give them the tools they need to be successful, particularly for student athletes with the lessons you can learn on the field of competition and in preparation and in work and all that kind. The NIL is another great way to learn more about yourself, learn more about what you're good at, give you the tools to learn how to take advantage of your presentation. It seems to me perfectly in line with the with any definition of the student athlete experience, right?
Yeah, and one thing I just try to tell student athletes is don't think of NIL as just this chance to make a bunch of money while you're in college, because that's really not. I mean, sure, you could maybe potentially make some money while you're in college, but NIL is not just a 4-year thing. This is you're investing in this for your long-term career and future beyond. So you start now with building that brand and building that reputation, both on and off the field or court, then it's going to pay off in the long run. Even if you don't think you're making a lot of money off of it right now, if you go into it with the mindset of, I'm building my business, I'm not just trying to make a bunch of money really fast, then it's going to pay off in the long run for sure.
See, already for me, I've been at this for such a long time. Even now, I'm improving my brand. I'm improving my reputation around by having you on for 20 minutes and talking about this. Always a chance to learn something new every time we visit. Lynne, for people who want to find more information about what you do and what your office can do, what's the first step they should take?
You can go to troy.edu/ideabank.
Okay.
That's our website. We've got tons of information on there, including NIL information. Also, encourage people to stop by our building during business hours.
They can just
I'm always
walk in?
there. Yes, you can just walk in. It is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 business hours. But you can find our contact info on the website as well. ideabank@troy.edu is the email, and my contact info is on there as well.
This has been very illuminating. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Lynne George is with us here from the Fieldhouse in Troy Athletics, talking Trojan Talk. I'm Barry McKnight.